Hare Krishna.
So, I hope everybody is having a good Sunday so far, and I'm glad everybody's here for the Sunday Love Feast today. So, today we're going to be talking about a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 3, text 37 through 38. And the topic for today's class is going to be, all you need is love. But before we begin, does anybody know who that person is in the picture with the beard?
It's the Beatles.
Okay, good. There's people do know. It's not become so old that people are like, who's that? It's good that you guys still know. So yeah, that is George Harrison. And for those who don't know, maybe the younger generation, George Harrison was in a band called the Beatles, and George Harrison specifically, he met the devotees, I think 1967, and he helped the devotees in many ways, from recording the Radha Krishna Temple album to donating the property where the Bhaktivedanta Manor is. So one of the songs that the Beatles wrote, it was called All You Need Is Love, so I thought it was a fitting picture. So as we'll see in this class, this is kind of the message that we'll hopefully be bringing across. So before we begin, let's do the invocation prayers. Om Ajnanasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Savitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svaradantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Bhagavatam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sarvajatam Sadhanaram Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vaijnana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Saranada Shri Krishna Kavinamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinamanandu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyo Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasali Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So before I begin, just if I do say something that knowingly or unknowingly is incorrect or is the wrong thing, please forgive me. I'm just trying to, as best as I can, say what Srila Prabhupada has said in his translations and purports. At the end, feel free to correct me as needed. So, let's talk briefly about prayer. What is the purpose of prayer? Why do we pray? Does anybody know? Yes, Kostu?
Oh, please, Krishna.
That's a good one. Anybody else?
For strength to carry on spiritually.
For strength to carry on spiritually. Nice. Any other?
To thank God.
Nice, yes. So, prayer is, I think Kostu said it pretty well, one of the ways we can connect with the Supreme Lord. And it's also one of the 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padastenam, Archanam, Vandanam specifically. For example, when Srila Prabhupada, he was on the Jaladuta traveling to America, he wrote a beautiful prayer in Krishna Prema. He said it in his class last week. It was a beautiful prayer, and it's, I am a puppet, and you have brought me here to dance. Now you can make me dance as you like. Make me dance. Oh Lord, make me dance. Prayer can be very powerful. And even reading prayers, you don't even have to, say prayers yourself because, prayer is very difficult sometimes. It's hard to find the right words. So even reading prayers can be very powerful and give us a great benefit. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, for example, we can see that there are many prayers you can read. Can we get some examples of good prayers? Anybody?
Green cookies.
Hmm? Gajendra, that's a good one.
Nam Jap.
Yeah? Some type of prayer. Anybody else?
Queen Kunti.
Yeah, Queen Kunti. That's good, yeah. So there's Gajendra. We also have prayers Lord Brahma, Indra, Queen Kunti, Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad. There's many different prayers in these books that are meant for glorifying the Supreme Lord. And so today we're actually going to be reading a section from one of these prayers. The verse we're going to be reading today comes from the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 3rd chapter, where Vasudeva and Devaki, they are the ones that are saying the prayers in this chapter. So when Krishna appeared in the prison house, did he appear as an ordinary child?
No.
No. He appeared, with four arms like we can see here. So after Krishna appears to them in his four-handed form in the prison, his parents could understand, that he was the Supreme Lord. I mean, you don't see too many people walking around with 4 hands, right? So they knew he was someone special. So they began offering some beautiful prayers that are described in this chapter. Vasudeva, he kind of prays in awe and reverence, praising the Supreme Lord and his qualities. And Devaki, she specifically, she was afraid of her brother, who was Kamsa. And so she prayed that he would appear more like a normal human child so that Kamsa would not know that he was the Supreme Lord. And if you haven't had a chance to read these prayers or hear these prayers, they're very beautiful, and I would recommend reading the entire chapter. Like, for example, we do Zoom calls every Saturday. So that is a way you can hear these prayers and learn these prayers. And you can also just read on your own. We have Srimad Bhagavatam online through the database. There's different ways. There's really, I guess, no excuse. So the 2 verses today that we'll be reading, though, is actually Krishna speaking. Krishna is saying stuff in response to the prayers given by his parents. So there are 2 verses, so we can read and then you guys can repeat. Tadavam paritushtoham Amuna vapusham shanage Tapasa sharaya nityam Bhaktya chahidi bhavita Karuna samvarara Yuvayo kamadisaya Priyatam varetyukte Madrisho vamritasudha. Does anybody want to try it out? Maybe, you'll want to try one or both. It's up to you. We have one mic there. I think we'll probably get another white mic to go around. So, anybody want to try? Kalash, you have the microphone.
Tadavam paratushtoham Amuna vapusangahe sanganehe Tapasa shraddhaya nityam Bhaktya chahati bhavitaha
Pradura Shambhara Prara Juvayo Kamaditsaya Priyatam Vareti Ukte Madrisho Amrita Sudha.
Another person who's taking a mic up.
Tadavam paritushtoham
Tadam paritushtoham
amunavapusanage
amunavapusanage
tapasa swadaya nityam
nityam
bhaktya cha hridevavita
Jai, Jai. Oh, Krishna.
Pradurasam varadamu Juvaya yogamadrisyaya Priyatam varaditike Marisha Mamrita Sutta
Okay, I'll spare you guys from passing the mic around even more. So we can go. I still need somebody to read. Don't worry. The translation. It's in English, so it's a little bit easier. Do I want maybe Abhinav? Can you read the translation?
Translation. O sinless Mother Devaki, after the expiry of 12,000 celestial years in which you constantly contemplated me within the core of your heart with great faith, devotion and austerity, I was very much satisfied with you. Since I am the best of all bestowers of benediction, I appeared in this same form as Krishna to ask you to take me from the benediction you desired. You then express your desire to have a son exactly like me.
Yeah, maybe a little summary of what was just read.
So I guess Krishna is talking to Mother Devaki here now. He's telling her that how much 12,000 years she has this desire to have the Lord as her son. So then Krishna is saying he is the best, bestows the best benediction. He is the best of all benedictions. Like he bestows the best benediction. And he appeared as form Krishna to make it happen, to fulfill a desire.
Yeah. So I guess to give a little context behind this verse, Vasudeva and Devaki, their previous births, they were known as Sutapa and Vrishni. So Brahma, he requested both of them to create progeny to populate the planet. And so they did severe penances for 12,000 years. That's a long time. But during these 12,000 years, they were focusing on the Supreme Lord. And after those 12,000 years, Krishna appeared to them, and as stated in this verse, of course, and Sutapa and Vrishni requested to have a son like Krishna. And Krishna, he actually fulfilled this desire 3 times. So the first time, he appeared as Vrishni Garbha. The second time, does anybody know? Any? No, who did Krishna appear as?
Kapila?
Vamanadeva, yeah. Yes. So, second time was Vamanadeva, and the third time was actually Krishna. So, now we're going to go to the purport, which is written by Srila Prabhupada. Samandi, would you like to read this purport?
Purport of Prabhupada. 12,000 years on the celestial planets is not a very long time for those who live in the upper planetary system. Although it may be very long for those who live on this planet, Sutapa was the son of Brahma, and as we have already understood from Bhagavad Gita 8.17, one day of Brahma equals many millions of years according to our calculation. Sahasra Yuga Payanam Ahayat Brahmanam Virtu. We should be careful to understand that to get Krishna as one's son, one must undergo such great austerities. If we want to get the Supreme Personality of Godhead to become one of us in this material world, this requires great penance. But if we want to go back to Krishna, We need only understand Him and love Him. Through love only, we can very easily go back home, back to Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore declared, Prema Pum Artho Mahan. Love of Godhead is the highest achievement for anyone.
Little summary, what you just read.
So like if we want Krishna to appear in this like material world, then it takes like a lot of hard work and like many years of penance.
Yeah, it does. I mean, but I think in the second part, it does help a little bit. You know, it helps a little simplified. So I'm going to take just one sentence from this purport. I'm going to try to base the whole discussion today off that. So the sentence, through love only, we can very easily go back home, back to Godhead. So, you know, all you need is love, right? Through love only. You know, it's not through love, you know, through love only. So, inspired by this sentence from the purport, we're going to be talking about this. So we'll first define what is love, and then talk about why love is important, and then go more into specifics on how to cultivate love. So that being said, what is love? You know, I'm talking more like a dictionary, you know, ask people on the streets what love is definition. What is love? Yes?
Giving respect to others.
Giving respect to others, that's nice. Any other you think of?
It's happiness derived from a place of making a specific person or a specific thing, like satisfying a specific thing.
Like happiness derived from satisfying a specific thing
Or a person.
Yeah. Any other ideas out there? Yes?
Selfless.
Selfless?
Affections.
Okay, okay. You know, it seems very like a simple question. I mean, what is love, right? It's a little complicated though. I mean, right? What is love? People struggle actually to define this question. From what I read, like dictionary-wise, love is a strong feeling of warm personal attachment or deep affection. So it's like a feeling, right? It can be between friends, families, significant others. You know, it's the subject of numberless books, songs, films, plays, sonnets, articles, conversations, and advertisements. You know, it's meditated on, longed for, and bemoaned for. You know, it's a source of anguish, ecstasy, and everything in between. It's what makes the world go around, essentially. But we can see in the material world that many people are struggling with love. I was reading the current divorce rate in the U.S. is about 42%, so still around half. You know, friendships are being fractured every day. And, you know, there's many cases of people being neglected. I mean, many articles are written about this subject, the struggle of love. You know, people will even turn to horoscopes. They let, you know, the love outlook for the week, you know, today you'll meet the love of your life, you know. Doesn't that sound nice? It never works. But, you know, we can see that, you know, we can say, you know, people, they're meant to be loved, right? Things are meant to be used. But in the modern world, it's actually kind of switched around a little bit, right? Things are loved a lot, and people are being used a little bit. You know, people take such good care of their cars, you know, go to the car wash every week, make it shiny nice, you know, take care of their house. But then, you know, the people, you know, they're just there, right? You know, this is not everybody, of course. Some people do actually have a lot of really good relationships with people and have a good, strong footing on what love is. But there's a lot of people who don't have that. And, you know, I put in Google, why do people struggle with love? Just out of curiosity. And they said, you know, there are many reasons, you know, fear, vulnerability, past experience, individual experiences, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But how about we go to Srila Prabhupada's books and see, why people are struggling. And so to get to that, we got to go into the type of love itself that is finding the problem. So it's said in the beginning of chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita that the material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world, comparing it to a banyan tree with its roots upward and the branches downward. And so, as we can see in the picture here, the reflection of the tree in the water is blurry compared to the actual tree. So things here in the material world are kind of similar to things in the spiritual world, but they're not perfect, right? And they're ultimately temporary. Love is present in the spiritual world, right? You got the different types of rasas, parental love, friendship love, conjugal love. The same types of love we see here in the material world, they're also in the spiritual world. We all have that loving propensity. But the love here in the material world, the problem is it's contaminated with a few things. I think one of the main things from what I was reading is selfish desires, right? I think somebody mentioned selfless love. Sometimes in the material world, it's not quite selfless, right? You got the example of the child, Mom, I love you very, very much. Can I have $20 to buy that new game over there? Or, you're telling your spouse, oh, honey, I love you so much. So I'm going to do this thing for you. I'll bake you some cookies or something. And, but in the back of your head, you're thinking, maybe if I do this one thing for them, they'll be so happy about it. So nice, they'll give me a shoulder massage later. And then when you don't get that shoulder massage, you get very mad, even though you never told them you wanted a shoulder massage. And then, you're fighting because one person is mad and the other person's like, why are you so mad? It's like, you didn't do that one thing for me. Like, you never told. Anyways, we can see, loving relationships in the material world can be a little selfish sometimes. We are in these loving relationships sometimes to get something out of it. So-called love here means you gratify my senses, I'll gratify your senses. Without some exchange or benefit for myself. Love is harder to manifest. Another thing is, like I talked about, sense gratification. Bhagavad Gita 262, 263, it talks about when you, when we're contemplating the objects of the senses, from that contemplation, lust develops, attachment develops, and from that attachment, things develop like anger, bewilderment, and we are so attached to things. And we love these things, but those things can come and go, and when we get that removed, it can cause these things like anger, bewilderment. People will break off relationships when their senses are no longer satisfied. Ultimately, love in the material world is somewhat conditional. Even if you try so hard for it not to be, it can be conditional. If my conditions are not being met, then I will stop loving them, and this causes conflict. So does that mean we should be like this guy, sit in the forest, giving up all our material desires, material relationships? Like I said, love is conditional, so I should give it up, right? You all agree with me, really? We should give it up? Should we give up love? No. Say it with enthusiasm.
No.
That was a little better. Okay. We'll work on it. Love itself is not really the problem. It's the selfish desires. Love and relationships are not the source of bondage. Selfish desires are the source of bondage. And these selfish desires hijack our love and relationships. Those who artificially give up material things, like this guy who's sitting in the forest, he's got nothing around him. They may not be successful. For example, if you tell a child, you're not allowed to eat cake, and then you put a cake right in front of them, what is going to happen? All they're going to think about is that cake that's in front of them, that their mom told them you can't eat the cake. All you're focused on is cake, and then you ate the cake. But if you tell the child, you can't eat this cake, but I have cookies over here, you can eat the cookies, the child's like, cookies, and they're still engaged in eating, but they're, you know, they haven't given it up, right? It's not they're not something they're meditating on. Oh, cake, but they're like, okay, cookies, that's nice. So similarly, if we try to restrict ourselves from sense enjoyment, try to restrict ourselves from this love, it won't work, because we're in the material world. Our senses need to be engaged in some way. So instead of giving up the love, we have to transform the love. Transform it from material to a more spiritual type of love. From conditional to unconditional, without any conditions. Actually, love is very crucial to our spiritual development. It's like the key ingredient, right? The secret sauce. And it's not really a concept unique to Krishna consciousness. It's not like we're the only ones saying that love is the only way. You know, Jesus Christ, there was, in the Bible it says, you know, Jesus Christ preached, you shall love the Lord, your God, with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. So it's a universal principle, right? Within different religious groups. But, you know, don't take my word for it. Let's read a couple examples from the Shastras. So I have 3 examples, so we can have 3 people read. Kaustu, would you like to read the first one?
Yes.
Someone can pass me that. Thank you.
To those who are constantly devoted to serving you with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anyone want to read the second one? Annapurnamati, you have the mic.
If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it.
And yes, would you like to read?
Being freed from, I'm sorry, I have to come close.
Yes.
No, come close, no problem.
Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me, and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past become purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attended transcendental love for me.
Yeah, thank you. So, as you can see from this, and there's many examples that I didn't put on the slides, love is very important in our spiritual journey. You know, when we chant our japa, for example, what are we praying? Oh Lord, please engage me in service. Right?
Yes.
No.
Well, yes and no, right? What's missing?
Loving service.
Loving devotional service. It's not just devotional service. Loving devotional service. You know, the love has to be there. We can't forget about this part. What do we call our Sunday programs? Love feast. Sunday love feast. You know, love feast was a term coined by Srila Prabhupada in the early days of the movement. You know, they would get together once or twice a week, and Srila Prabhupada would give some talk, and then he would give a feast afterwards. Sometimes he even cooked the feast himself, especially in the early days when there was just him and a few people would come to the movement. So it wasn't just Sunday feast, it was Sunday love feast. So, you know, love is the type of thing that changes people. For example, you know, when someone becomes a parent, their whole world changes, right? Because they now have somebody to take care of, and they feel so much love for their new child, generally. They would move mountains for that child. I was reading a story once, and there was a kid who was trapped under a car. And a car is very heavy, right? And this mother, out of like sheer adrenaline or sheer love, just pushed off, she like lifted the whole car and was able to save the child. I mean, normally, I don't see people going around and lifting cars. So it's something that can transform people. And so when our love is transformed, we are also transformed. If we're transforming our love from material to spiritual, we are also transforming from material to spiritual. You know, without the love, we're kind of just working. We're just doing stuff, right? These kids, they don't look too happy doing the dishes. I mean, sad faces, just like this. You know, they're probably doing it because their parents told them to do it. You know, like when I was a kid, My mom, she would tell me to do some chore. Usually the dishes or sweeping the floor or something. And if she was like yelling at me, go do the dishes, go do the dishes, I would protest, no, I don't want to do the dishes. Oh, fine, I'll do the dishes. And then, I'd kind of rush through the dishes and not do a good job. And then my mom would come in, she would say, oh, you didn't do a good job, you have to do it again. And then I have to do it again and again, and the whole cycle continues, right? But there was a difference when she asked me, I would really appreciate it if the dishes are done, and then she'd, give some sort of explanation. Maybe that's just how I was, My brothers were a little different. They needed a little more encouragement, maybe threatening to take their computer privileges away, something. But for me, it worked, just sometimes asking nicely. So we're not robots, right? Robot Hare Krishna, we're not like that. We have feelings, we have emotions, and we should be using those feelings and emotions in our service. When you perform service with love, you're taking care and paying attention to every detail. For example, if the cooks are cooking the Sunday feast, but they're not putting the love into their cooking, they may be like, not paying attention, oh, grab this, and they accidentally put sugar instead of salt in something, or salt instead of sugar. They're just kind of like, let's get it done, let's get it done, let's get it done. And then you're like eating salty halva. Everybody's favorite. Or, if you're the one doing the dishes, it's not just the cooks, it's everybody. If you're one doing the dishes, and you're just like, gotta get this done, I want to get home, I want to get in my nice warm bed. That sounds so nice, and you're just you're maybe leaving those food particles on the dishes, right? You're not doing it with the love and the care and the attention that the service requires. So when you're doing the service with love, you're taking care to see, how can I do this in a way that pleases Krishna, that pleases the Supreme Lord? The Krishna wants, nice, clean dishes. He wants tasty prasad, like we all do. We all want some sweet halva instead of salty halva. And you can see maybe in the audience, maybe today, there's some people that might not like it too spicy. So I'll tone down the spice just a little bit so that everybody can enjoy it. Or, thankfully here we have very experienced cooks, I'm not trying to bash anyone. Here we have very experienced cooks, and they do the service with so much love that the prasad is always tasty. I've never had salty halva here, so.
It's on the menu today.
I consider that a dish. Oh, is that the new dish for me? Salty halva. Looking forward.
Savory.
So, if you take one thing away, just one thing, I can blabber on and on, but if you take one thing away, the love must be there in your service, It may take time to develop, it doesn't come automatically, but there should be an effort made to put love in your service. So, when you think of love in a spiritual context, most of us go to thinking about loving Krishna, loving the Supreme Lord. This is good, right? This is our ultimate goal of life. But we can't just start loving Krishna, not in that deep, constant way that we should. It's difficult, right? There are some preliminary steps, though, that can help us reach the goal, right? We first need to learn how to love properly. How do we transform it from material love to spiritual love? And that's what I want to talk about next. I'm going to talk about 3 different ways. So the first one, I want you to try to guess. I'll give you a hint. All you have to do is look around the room. What can help us transform our love?
Making friends with the people here.
Friends, yeah, that. Maybe a little more specific of a term?
Association.
Association, yeah. Association with devotees, right? Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha is so important to developing our spiritual love, because the devotees, the people here around you, just look around the room. All these people here can help you serving the Supreme Lord. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 49. It says, Sadhu Sange Krishna Bhaktye Shraddha Yarihaya Bhakti Phala Prema Haya Samsara Yaya Shaya. My Bengali is not that good, I apologize.
But by associating with a devotee, one awakens his faith and devotional service to Krishna. Because of devotional service, one's dormant love for Krishna awakens, and thus one's material conditioned existence comes to an end. So, sadhusanga, or association. How do we build up this association in a loving yet sustainable way? Because, we can collect as many friends as we like, right? Collect. I have 100 friends right here. Not me, I struggle with making friends, but maybe somebody like Krishna Prema, he's got 100 friends around him because he's a very extroverted type of person, where he's collecting friends. But how many of those are quality friendships?
All of them.
If you got a lot of friends that are quality, that's a good thing to have.
I guess the difference would be like acquaintances versus friends, because you can have a lot of acquaintances, but friends are a lot different.
I like that point. That's actually a really good point. I mean, acquaintance versus friendship. It's deepening, going that little bit step further. So when we talk about love among devotees, we need to talk about cultivating those relationships, more specifically, friendships, right? Living entities, they're meant to be in relationships, more specifically, strong relationships. They're built on love, strong friendships. We all need a good friend out there, I have a few, I'm not a complete introvert. I do have a few friends, and I feel like they have helped me a lot. So, for example, in the top right, this picture here, you can probably not see me. I'm kind of hiding behind that guy. That guy's mask right there. But this is from actually one of the trips I took with people my age in ISKCON. We went to Mexico, and this was from when we did Harinam. Krishna Prema is the one holding the Mridanga right there. Haribo. So, we were mostly all friends, and, it made the trip so much better, so much more enjoyable, because we could engage in Krishna consciousness together. We were going around, we were performing different programs in different cities, where we would do kirtan, we did a little bit of play, we did a little bit of dance. That's a picture from when we did dance right there. And, we were always having fun because we were doing things together. And, afterwards we would reminisce, oh, do you remember that time? And, that we went to this city and did this program. It was nice, It includes devotional service. You can have fun friendships doing devotional service. They're not two separate things. You can merge them together. We can see here devotees are serving prasadam together. They're working on a farm together, getting some nice boga for the Lord. They're hearing from a highly exalted devotee. This is from ISKCON Orlando right here. And then, dancing together. One of the great examples of spiritual friendships, Krishna and the Coward Boys, right? So in this particular picture here, Krishna and his friends are enjoying lunch. And I want to just touch up on this passage because it's so nice. It's said in Krishna book, after Krishna saved his friends from the demon Aghasura, which was a big snake demon, he brought his friends to the bank of the Yamuna and was like, my dear friends, just see how this spot is very nice for taking lunch and playing on the soft, sandy Yamuna bank. You can see how the lotus flowers in the water are beautifully blown, and the chirping of the birds, along with the cooing of the peacocks, surrounded by the whispering of the leaves in the trees, combine and present sound vibrations that echo one another. Beautiful place, essentially. Let us have our lunch in this spot, and while we engage in our lunch taking, the calves may engage in eating the soft grasses that are in this spot. So the Coward Boys, they all agreed, and they were sitting around, with Krishna in the center. It's described like a whorl of a lotus with Krishna in the center. And they would take, bark of trees or like leaves, and they would put their lunches on, as we can see in the pictures here. And they were, eating lunch, and they were talking with Krishna. It was described, while taking lunch, each boy began to manifest different kinds of relations with Krishna. And they enjoyed each other's company with joking words, They were all just laughing, joking, having a good time. They weren't, doing anything too complicated. They were just sitting around, eating lunch. And that was love right there. They were all engaged in loving relationships with Krishna here. So, from the past, we can see that devotee friendships don't have to be complicated. You don't have to read 100 books on how do I become friends with this devotee. Sometimes it's just simple as sharing prasadam with each other. With that, I want to reference a verse from the Nectar of Instruction, verse 4. Does anybody want to try to read this here? Rasrika Prabhu?
ददाति प्रतिग्रहन्ति कुह्यम् अख्यति प्रच्छति भुङ्क्ते भोज्यते चैव सत् विधां प्रीति लक्षणम्. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasada and offering prasada are the 6 symptoms of love shared by the devotee and one another.
Thank you. So, this is from Nectar of Instruction. This was written by Srila Rupa Goswami. And I want to read a section of the purport. It says, Srila Prabhupada says, even in ordinary social activities, these 6 types of dealings between 2 loving friends are absolutely necessary. For instance, when one businessman wishes to contact another businessman, he arranges a feast in a hotel, and over the feast openly expresses what he wishes to do. He then inquires from his business friend how he should act, and sometimes presents are exchanged. Thus, whenever there is a dealing of priti, or love and intimate dealings, these 6 activities occur. So, we can see that, there's some sort of exchange between devotees, and it doesn't have to be like a physical thing, right? It can be as simple as, hey Prabhu, I heard this from the class today, and I didn't understand it. Could you explain it to me further? It could be something simple as words being exchanged. Prasadam is nice too, though, so that's a good idea. And actually, like offering gifts, accepting charitable gifts. There's a story about Srila Prabhupada that illustrates these exchanges. So, during Guru Puja, Srila Prabhupada, he would insist on handing out cookies. And this was both to the children and to the adults. So one time, Prabhupada, he was in New Vrindavan. And at that time, the roads were kind of bad. And the devotees were like, Srila Prabhupada, are you sure you want to go to New Vrindavan? He was insisting, yes, I want to go to New Vrindavan. And so when the truck that was taking Srila Prabhupada there reached the point where Srila Prabhupada would walk and chant his japa, and the devotees would continue on the road, Srila Prabhupada, he asked, okay, do you have the cookies? And the devotees realized they forgot the cookies. And, this was just unacceptable, Srila Prabhupada could not show his love by any other cookies if there was no cookies. So, Radhanath Swami is described, he actually took the deity's plates with the offerings from Mangalarti and tried to offer these to Srila Prabhupada, but Srila Prabhupada said, or actually it was Srila Prabhupada's secretary, he's like, you can't offer this to Srila Prabhupada, it's the Mahaprasadam from the deities. So then Radhanath Swami, it said, he snuck around the other side where there was a more lenient servant, and he placed the tray there. And it was described, Srila Prabhupada, like a little child, he had a very small silver spoon, and he began distributing prasadam to the devotees as they lined up. He gave spoonfuls of sweet rice and other preparations, and Srila Prabhupada would taste and then distribute to the devotees. There was gulab jamuns, and when Srila Prabhupada came to the gulab jamuns, it was kind of like a sweet ball soaked in syrup. So when he would bite into it, all the juices would go like that, and the devotees were just so ecstatic. And Srila Prabhupada, he was just beaming like a little child as he was just feeding everybody this Mahaprasada. So we can see these loving exchanges, and Srila Prabhupada and the devotees endeavored to make sure that these loving exchanges were passing between devotees. So we should also try to endeavor for these exchanges. We're also not limited to just having these exchanges in this room at the Sunday feast on Sunday from 4 to 8 p.m. It can be outside, for example, if you go to the beach after Rath Yatra, you can still have these 6 evening exchanges. It's not limited to this temple. That's also one of the reasons why Srila Prabhupada founded ISKCON, to facilitate these dealings. You know, we have devotees that are in different stages of devotional service. And Nectar of Instruction verse 5 talks about more of these devotees, but because of time, we don't have time. But with these loving exchanges, a more inexperienced devotee is able to inquire from a more advanced devotee. Jai Shri Shri Sai Gaur Nataraj Ki Jai. And by inquiring from this advanced devotee, we can learn more about the science of Krishna consciousness. But I want to say one more thing. Relationships, they're unique, right? We can't create a one-size-fits-all plan on how to cultivate friendships and have these loving exchanges between devotees. You know, it makes me think of that somewhat famous theory about there in the science of material love. It's called like the love language theory. And you have 5 different ways that people can show love. You know, you got physical touch, quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation, gift giving. You have those 5 different categories. And someone has a prominent love language or a prominent way they show love. You know, in the same way, the devotees have different things about them, right? They have different likes, different dislikes. They may have a favorite service. They may have a favorite sweet, you know? They're all a little bit different. And so you can't just say, oh, I'm going to go up to everybody and do the same exact thing. No, it requires a little bit of effort. Unfortunately, you can't just be like, Hare Krishna, how are you? And then you're friends. There has to be a little bit of effort to get to know the person a little bit deeper, you know, learn about them. So let's do a little bit of an exercise. You know, you've been hearing me talk a little bit too long. So very briefly, because, you know, we don't have a lot of time, I want you to turn to somebody next to you, preferably somebody you don't already know, and just share one thing about yourself. Maybe like a little more of a spiritual fact, you know, favorite service, favorite pastime, favorite food even, you know? Figure out more about them and, you know, see if you have some common interests, you know? So just, I'll give you like 1 to 2 minutes.
Hello. So what's your name? Oh,
My name is Payal.
Maya?
Payal.
Payal.
What's yours?
Radhika.
What?
Radhika.
Radhika. Where are you?
I'm from Pensacola, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah. It's my initiation. Like initiation. So it's like Radhika.
So you're here for what time?
3 years.
3 years? Where do you live?
I live in Casinos. What about you?
I'm from Pakistan. I'm a doctor. So I'm here for my experience. I will be applying for a job here. So I live very far away, but I want to come here.
What area are you
I am in like Lakewood Avenue. I'm here. It's been like 15 days I'm here in the USA. So I don't know much.
in Pakistan? Do they have like an ISKCON?
No, there are multiple temples. Like they have Hare Krishna temples, they have Gurdwara.
I wish you guys could be talking for like 20 minutes. But we don't have 20 minutes, guys. We do have time after the program, though. So maybe you gotta do it again. You gotta do it again. You already know Oscar promoted.
No, I'm saying I wrote some on it.
I know, but I also have other things I need to talk
No,
about.
I'm just saying, like, say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So hopefully that conversation was engaging. Maybe you know your neighbor a little bit more. If you want to talk to them more, you know, after the program, feel free to continue the conversation. So let's move on to the next section. So how about for us introverts, right? Because extroverts, they love interacting with people. Introverts, like myself, it's okay. So how can we cultivate love that maybe doesn't require talking to people? time. You have to love yourself, right? You have to have a little bit of self-love, right? But how do you love yourself in a spiritual context? Does anybody have any guesses, any ideas? Yes, Oscar.
You stay consistent with your spiritual practice.
Staying consistent, that's a good one. Yeah. Any other ideas out there? Yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
Just let go.
Just let go? Okay. Okay. What about knowing who you really are?
I think that's important.
Yeah.
Loving
Who
yourself.
are you, right? But who are you underneath the surface level? To love to love yourself, you need to learn who you really are. You know, the process of finding out who you are, self-realization. And Srila Prabhupada wrote a book titled The Science of Self-Realization. And, you know, some things that are talked about, like, obviously, you know, you need a guru to help you in your spiritual journey. That's talked about in the Science of Self-Realization. So we need to learn who we are. And once we have that knowledge of maybe, you know, I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul who is part and parcel of Krishna. And all these people around me, they're spirit souls who are part and parcel of Krishna. Then you have love for yourself, but you also have love and compassion for everybody around you. You're developing that love, and that love radiates out and improves the interactions with those around you. There's a verse, Bhagavad Gita chapter 5, text 18. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, outcast. So, you know, once you have that understanding that everybody is a spirit soul, you do not discriminate based on who someone is. You know, no one in this material world should be deprived of love. Everybody needs love. And that includes the animals, right? We treat the individuals around us with the same amount of love, same equal vision. Now I can say this, blah, 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 and you're like, oh yeah, that's a good principle, but it's hard to execute practically, right? It's just how we're conditioned to be. We have that false ego, and we're conditioned to kind of see everybody a little bit differently. A common misconception though with this picture is that the sage here is a devotee and everybody else is not a devotee, right? There's a difference. There's a difference of, I guess, who the person is. But one way we can see it is that everybody is a devotee. Whether they're an advanced devotee, they're a devotee just on the beginning stages, or they're somebody who has the potential to be a devotee, whether in this lifetime or the next. Everybody is or will be a devotee at some point. And if we can see that, that will help us with this principle of seeing everybody with equal vision. You know, obviously, it's going to take a little bit of effort too. You can't just say, oh yeah, I understand, I'm going to live by this principle. It takes a bit of effort. So, loving yourself means knowing who you are, and when you know who you are, you can kind of spread that love to everybody else. And then, one last thing I want to talk about. Loving your japa. So, be honest, it's a rhetorical question, you don't really have to answer me. Are you more happy to see your japa beads or the counter bead going down? Next question. Well, luckily you don't have to answer this question, but think about it, right? You're gonna have good days. You know, it depends. You're gonna have good days where you chant your prescribed number of rounds with enthusiasm. You're like, oh, Hare Krishna, and you're just so excited. But I can always guarantee you're gonna have bad days. It's 11 o'clock, I have 8 rounds left. I've been there, don't worry. It's not just, you know, somebody, it's me too. And it's gonna be a struggle to get through your rounds. And a lot of days it's kind of in the middle, right? It's just, you know, okay, I have to do my rounds. I'm gonna sit, do my rounds. Okay, I'm done with my rounds. Yay. So enthusiastic. It's just something, it feels like something you have to do, something we're told to do. And so how do we change our mindset and love our japa? So remember earlier we were talking about relationships, right? And in order to love, we have to have those relationships. So when we're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, which is over there, and Krishna's name, which is in the Maha Mantra, is non-different from Krishna himself. Last week in the class we were talking about the Shikshastakam. Does anybody know what verse talks about this principle off the top of your head? It looks like you need to study the class from last week a little bit more, guys.
Verse 2.
Hey, there you go, verse 2, that's correct. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benedictions to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. So, when we're chanting, we have to think of it in a way that we're developing a relationship with Krishna through his names. So, that's easier said than done because, it's hard to have a relationship when all you're seeing is these beads. But, when we're in a conversation with somebody, what is something that's important but often neglected? Listening. Good job. You're listening. That's good. Sometimes we are so focused on what somebody is going to, what am I going to say next? Somebody's talking, I'm like, okay, next I'm going to talk about this, this, and this. We're not listening to what they're saying, right? We're just focused on, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say this. I'm sure many of us have been in a conversation where we're talking, and the other person is clearly not listening. Maybe they're on their phone or something like that. And it feels disheartening to even continue talking, because what's the point? They're not listening. So, if we're chanting our japa, but we're not focused, we're not invested in listening, you won't derive the full benefit of that relationship with Krishna. So when we chant the japa, we must be listening to the Maha Mantra, and listening, it actually is has a secondary effect, and it removes one of the major blocks to quality chanting, which is when our mind starts wondering, Hare Krishna, what am I going to have for dinner, So if we listen, we're listening, and our mind is engaged in listening to the Maha Mantra, and it's not engaged in, what am I going to have for dinner tomorrow, And if you can improve the quality of the chanting itself, because you are hearing and making sure that you are saying each word properly, you're going to get that full benefit. So, don't take my word for it. We're going to kind of conclude, we're going to read a couple more sections. The next section is going to be an excerpt from the purport that Krishna Prema you can read. Mike.
You gotta turn it off.
In this age, we are all fallen, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead has appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to bestow upon us love of Godhead directly. This was appreciated by the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Rupa Goswami said, Namo Mahavandayana Krishna Prema Pradayate Shri Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurate Namaha. In this verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described as Mahavandanya, or the most munificent charitable persons, because he gives Krishna so easily that one can attain Krishna simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We should therefore take advantage of this benediction given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and when by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra we are cleansed of all dirty things, Chaito Dharpanam Arjuna, we shall be able to understand very easily that Krishna is the only object of love. Kirtanad eva Krishnaya mukta sangha param vijay.
So, any summary you want to give?
So, just like in the same way that everybody mentioned previously, that all souls are equal. Everybody is a devotee of Krishna, whether it's an ant, a business CEO, or an outcast. All those souls are equal. Equally, however, everybody, especially in this age, is a fallen conditioned soul, since they're covered by the illusion of Maya. However, the caveat is that Mahaprabhu appeared in Kali Yuga specifically to counteract this, the fact that we are the most fallen. He says rather than going to the previous yugas where you have to meditate, perform yajna, or all these different austerities. No, now it's simply the Lord Himself is giving us the holy name where we can chant, since it is the Yuga Dharma. And by just chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, that's how we cleanse all of these coverings. That's how a potential devotee becomes an advanced devotee.
So the holy name is very powerful, yes? We must realize this incredible value of the holy name. It's hard to love something you don't appreciate, right? The holy name is truly a rare gem that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and gave us. You know, it's so simple, right? It's just 3 words, Hare Krishna and Rama. But it has the power to transform our hearts. So I was earlier talking about how the ultimate goal of life is to love Krishna, but we can't just jump into that. We have to do some beginning steps. The holy name, chanting our japa, is one of those beginning steps. Because as it says, by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we are cleansed of all dirty things, and we shall be able to understand very easily that Krishna is the only object of love. So I have another quote, and I want to hear what Srila Prabhupada, what he has to say. So this is a lecture, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, text 4. It was given in Miami, February 27th, 1975. Radhika, do you want to read this?
Hare Krishna is Krishna personally. So if you chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, you associate with Krishna. And if you associate with fire, you become warm. Similarly, if you associate with Krishna, then you gradually become Krishnaized. And when you perfect, just like you put one rod into the fire, it becomes warm, warmer, warmer, and at last, it becomes red hot. At that time, it is fire because it has acquired the quality of fire, although it is an iron rod. So the process is to remain with the fire. Similarly, if you remain with Krishna by chanting His holy name, then you will be purified, and one day will come, you will be Krishnaized. The process is very simple. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. That's all.
That's all. I like the term that Srila Prabhupada used, Krishnaized. I've never heard that before. I thought it was it's a very nice term. But you know, we're actually very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada, he gave us the holy name. He brought it from where it was in India to the Western world, you know, and it's a way of forming that loving relationship with Krishna. So take good care of the holy name and take good care of your japa. Love your japa. Don't just love, you know, bringing the calories down. I know, I love it too, but you also have to love seeing the beads as well. And, you know, there's other ways to love your japa, and of course, japa can be a whole different class topic in and of itself, but we only have 15 minutes, so we will have to save that for another time. So, in conclusion, I want to talk about, I guess, the benefits, right? Kind of a summary. Actually, you guys have listened enough to me from me for one day. How about you guys list some benefits, either from today's class or maybe from your readings, previous topics, of how the benefit of adding love to Bhakti Yoga. Any ideas and thoughts out there? Happiness. You get happiness. That's a good thing. We're all searching for happiness in this material world. And yes.
Peace.
Peace. Good one.
You get sugar in the halva instead of salt.
There we go. He's listening, right?
I like my love salt.
I mean, if you really love salty halva, that's okay. I will judge you a little bit, but yeah.
All the processes that we have to do become enjoyable. And
Yeah.
we want to do.
That's true. I mean, there's a difference between doing the dishes and lovingly doing the dishes, right? Work to service. Yeah. Yes.
A more natural and friction-free way of just existing.
Yeah.
Like you don't feel that you're working or you have to do this, or it's just
Yeah. You know, the time passes when you're having fun, and when you have love in that service, you're just having fun, right? And you're just like, oh wow, 2 hours have passed and we've done all the dishes. Any other ideas? Yes.
Our degree of contamination is being reduced.
Yes. Degree of contamination is being reduced. Any other ideas? Yes.
I guess it's by adding love to our bhakti yoga, it makes us more sensitive and opens our heart a little bit more, like softens it up.
More compassion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Our interaction with other people becomes sweeter.
Yes. Sweeter interactions. Yes.
Ego gets out of the equation.
False ego. We get rid of false ego. That's a good one. That's a big one. Any other ideas?
You can speak well.
For sure, for sure.
Jai.
Jai.
For sure.
I like that. But could you elaborate a little further, Prabhu, on how you sleep well?
I mean, see, it's a meditation. Meditation it's going to calm your mind. So naturally you can have a better sleep. For 2 hours you're not thinking of something that's going to agitate you, rather you keeping yourself calm.
Yeah, that's nice.
2 hours in 24.
Nice. You've given 2 already. You gotta give the others. Okay, let's see.
Adding on to that, like grudges. You don't hold on to grudges if you have like love in your body.
Yeah, that's true.
And you can sleep better.
Start to live in the moment.
Yeah, living in the moment.
Yeah, nothing about past, nothing about future. Just live today.
Yeah, that's a good.
That
one.
happens.
I think my grandmother used to say, yesterday is history, today, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. That's why they call it the present.
Nice.
So.
We can be grateful for everything.
Great
we have.
gratitude. Developing gratitude. I'll give you one last one.
Prashadam tastes better.
Prashadam tastes better.
I guess it enables us to share bhakti yoga, share Krishna consciousness a bit easier. I don't know, I like to think like Srila Prabhupada and how he had so much love and so much compassion for people he didn't even know, and that enabled him to essentially globalize Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement.
Yeah.
And yeah, we selflessly do the same thing. Like this.
So these are all very good. All of you did a good job when we're listening and got a lot of good points. So I hope somebody was taking a few notes. So again, before I go for questions, I want to emphasize love in our loving devotional service cannot be neglected. We're not robots, like I said. And including that love will really transform your devotional service in the ways that people just described. So we have about 10 minutes left, and we can go to questions, comments, concerns, corrections, all the good stuff. Yes, if we can get a mic going around.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the lecture. I really enjoyed it personally.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was winding up to ask this killer question.
Yeah, you were thinking about it, right?
Yeah,
You were.
the whole time. And then you answered it completely and utterly.
Okay.
So I just wanted to clarify.
Uh-huh.
Because I couldn't come up with another question. It was
Okay.
so thorough, So my question was going to be the whole time is, where does self-realization fit into loving relationships with other people, and Krishna?
Yeah.
And from what I understood, he said, if you don't love yourself, you can't really properly love anyone else.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who yourself is, you can't love
Yeah.
yourself. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we surface level know who we are, right? I have blonde hair, blue eyes, I'm wearing white earrings right now. That's surface level. But if we go deeper and on the spiritual plane, who we are as a soul, and that book, Science of Self-Realization, I don't know if you've read it yet, but it's a very good book, and it's kind of peeling back the layers and seeing who you really are, and then you kind of feel more content and happy about who you are as a spirit soul, not just who I am as somebody with blonde hair, blue eyes, So.
And then you can spread love from there.
Yeah.
Properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You brought up the theoretical framework of the styles of love, like how
Love languages?
The love languages, yeah. I'm just wondering, from what you've researched, what how does that fit into the greater philosophy of Vedanta and Srila Prabhupada's teachings? I don't know if you found some parallels or if you found some things that just don't fit at all, or if there is something substantial there that can help us in our bhakti.
I mean, there's some things I think you can take from it. One of the love languages is acts of service. And as devotees, acts of service should probably be a prominent one, you know? That's a good one. Some of them, not so much. Physical touch, that's hard to kind of translate into bhakti. But, okay, wrestling, fine. You can go wrestle somebody after the program.
I mean, the Lord incarnated on 3 separate occasions simply to fight some of his devotees.
Okay. We'll have a wrestling match afterwards.
And hugs. Like, it's not bona fide, but, like, we're humans. We need hugs every once in a while, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that should be normalized.
Yeah. So, hey! That was very nice. So I think you can use those like different love languages and kind of apply them. Quality time. How do we spend our time in a quality way? We can spend our time reading Srila Prabhupada's books, chanting our japa. That is quality spiritual time, right? Words of affirmation. That can be like a prayer, right? You don't have to come up with your own prayer. You can read one of the prayers from the Bhagavatam. But, you know, it's words of affirmation to the Supreme Lord. Gift giving. Give prashadam. Give some nice tasty gulabjamins to all the devotees. Yeah, give them a Bhagavad Gita. There you go. See, I think you can. It's just, you have to think of it in a kind of, with the spiritual glasses on. But I think, you know, I think the main point from what I was trying to get is everybody's unique, right? Some people are more into, you know, giving gifts, going out and distributing books, for example. Some people are more into that. Some people are more into quality time, getting people together to read, to study Srila Prabhupada's books. Some people are more into, I guess, wrestling matches. I'm looking at you. So, some people are more into actually going into and doing service. So, you have to find out what is somebody's more, I guess, prominent way to do it. We should all, you know, focus on all of these. They're all very important. We all should have quality spiritual time. We all should be doing acts of service. We all should be giving out gulabjamins. I'm taking gulabjamins if anybody is interested. But, but you know, I think that's kind of what the point I was trying to get across with that. I hope that answers your question.
Jai.
I have one question. So it's related to a topic like one size doesn't fit all that you were talking. It's labeled out, so it's labeled like on the other end, like if you don't want to, like, no need to answer right now. So it's regarding the incident of Purushottam Chaubey and Sanatana Goswami.
Could you elaborate a little further?
Yes, so Purushottam Chaubey is a person who had a Radha Madan Mohan deity. So he has been given in charge of the deity. And then he used to take the deity as like take care as a child, right? And our philosophy with the Sanatana Goswami, Mahaprabhu's philosophy is like we are a servant of Guru, right? So with the servant philosophy, you cannot treat Krishna as like, so we have a like whole altar and then like our Vedis have now bhakti basically. Right? So in their time, what happened was Purushottam Chaubey used to take care of Krishna as like his child. And when Sanatana Goswami appeared at his place, he saw a black boy with very beautiful curly hair playing outside with a kid. And then like, you know, the kids are like, you know, how kids play, like putting in the floor and dirt and all these things. And then Sanatana Goswami was like, okay, so he went to Purushottam Chaubey's house and then said to him, oh, I see this beautiful boy, Krishna, like, you know, it looks like Krishna so much. So Purushottam Chaubey introduced him to Radha Madan Mohan. And then Purushottam Chaubey said like, oh, we cannot like, you know, deal with Lord like that. So then Purushottam Chaubey like took that as, because he's coming from a sannyasi, he took that instruction, and after that he started taking Krishna very respectfully. So what happened there was Krishna's relationship with his family was spoiled. So Krishna had to leave that house after that, and then he came in Sanatana Goswami's dream and chastised him as well, and came to Purushottam Swami's dream as well. I said, like, now as time I go to Sanatana Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami said, you should not have spoiled my relationship with Purushottam Swami like that. So in that way, I understand the start like here, but yeah, that was my question. Like, I would not understand when there's conflict in the Vaidhi sadhana versus like that parental affection comes, like at that point of time. No need to answer right now about this, but it's just a thing like if someone knows can answer. But what's the lesson from this? It's just that I have like I was trying to take the lesson from this one. It's just like I read the pastime, I saw the drama, and it's like always stuck in my head, like like what, like our philosophy is also right, their philosophy is also right, like how do I understand this as a devotee and implement it properly?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I think conflict resolution is a whole class topic in and of itself. So I'm going to think on your question and then maybe give you an answer, but I don't think I can give a good, concise answer right now. But I mean, again, we one size fits all. It's not really that. But as devotees in the movement, we should be following what Srila Prabhupada has taught. Read what Srila Prabhupada has said, and then we should be following what he says. So that's all I'll say on that right now, I guess. We have 2 more minutes, maybe 1-2 more questions.
Oh, I guess. So we aren't all necessarily at like a stage where all of our engagements can necessarily be like spiritual engagements, and oftentimes, like, to compensate for this, we have friends that are like quote unquote like material friends, or like saying, like, for example, like I came from, like, I didn't grow up in Krishna consciousness, so like my best friend, she's not a devotee, she doesn't practice or anything, and it's like, and then to compensate, like, then I also have like my spiritual friends, like you guys here, so it's like, and the dynamic of both of the relationships are very different, and one of them feels more formal than the other, so it's like, how do you overcome that formality, that, I guess, like that barrier of formality, and make it more personal and more intimate?
I guess you kind of need to get to know people too, because when we're all in the Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, dear devotee, please let me know. It's a lot of, it's good. It's a very nice thing. But if you are on that, I guess, more informal basis, that person, you can just be like, Hare Krishna, can I do this, or this or that, So I think it's about getting to know people. You gotta know them more on a deeper level, because if you don't know them, you're gonna stay at that formal level. Like, for example, if you're meeting with the president of some company or something, you don't know them very well, so you're gonna shake your hand, hello sir, how are you doing today? Right? You're gonna have a very formal relationship with them. But if you know somebody on a deeper level, like maybe you know the president very well, I don't, but you can go up to them and say, hey, how's it going? It's been so many years since I've seen you, There's the same person, but somebody just knows them more than the other person. So I think we have to, like I said, deepen our relationship. We have to go more beyond, hi, how are you? How is your service going? We should be asking these questions, but go on a deeper level, Just sit, talk, enjoy prasadam sometimes. That's all that's needed sometimes. Prasadam is very good. That's what I've taken away from this class. Prasadam is very important. The thing you should take away is that love is very important, but prasadam is also important.
It was going to be a little long, so
I
was going to say, when Max talked about self-realization, I was going to talk about, I remember the Ayn Prabhu was leaving Vrindavan and there was a mosquito in the car, but he was so realized that he wanted to let the mosquito out of the car before he leave it out because it was a spirit soul also. And he was, he was so realized that he didn't want to be the cause of the mosquito to leave it out. So that's like self-realization that we don't see like humans only, even the animals, there's also spirit soul. So he has to show compassion to every living being.
That's a very good point. Compassion is very important. Even to the mosquitoes, that's a little difficult. I think it was a very exalted soul. Yeah. So I think from that we are almost ready for more art. So you can go ahead, take out the mats, put them back, and get ready for arti. And please forgive me for any offenses that I committed. Hare Krishna.
Vivo! Ki Jai! Marisha Pavan Ki Jai!